Happy Telling Tuesday! I hope it is as beautiful where you are as it is here in Oregon right now. I know it can't be beautiful in every part of the world all at once, but I hope you're finding some beauty. This spring weather is really filling me with goodness. So today's story is inspired by the fable, The Man and His Two Mistresses. I wasn't interested in the subject matter of this fable, but one particular concept really intrigued me. So I took that little spark of an idea, and for the last couple weeks I have been just seeing where it took me. Different directions, thinking of different people, different experiences, how this concept can be something that I can use in a story to hopefully help inspire people. And this is the story that has come out of all of that creative adventuring. Portland is home to the second largest city park in the nation. It's called Washington Park. Stepping into Washington Park feels like you are as far away from the city as you can get. It's magical, forested. If you travel down a certain trail in Washington Park, you come to a fairy garden. Perhaps you've seen something similar, little fairy-size huts and houses and garden decor, little bitty pebble-lined walkways for the fairies. And what for us humans is a delightful fairy garden? Well, for the fairies, it's home. And so it was for Callie, a fairy who lived in one of those huts. She was fairy-sized, with long dark hair, with light highlights. She had the wings the shape of a dragonfly, with blue highlights. And Callie loved being a fairy. Her and her sisters, they would fly around the forest calling themselves the forest do-gooders. They would help the chipmunk whose nuts had fallen out of his hole. They'd replant carefully the flowers that some hiker had kicked and uprooted. And the sisters prided themselves in being the same. And the sisters all had long dark hair. And when they looked at Callie, they could have said, "Oh, Callie, your hair is so beautiful. With its highlights, it's unique and wonderful." But instead, they said, "Oh, Callie, being the Sister Do-Gooder Club, we should all look the same. Perhaps if we pull out your light highlighted hair, then you will look like us." And Callie, not wanting to rock the boat, she let her sisters pluck out her light colored highlighted hair. Just a few every day over time. Pluck, pluck, pluck. Callie had other friends too. Callie loved to fly with the birds. She would fly in the sky, following close behind her winged friends, trying to keep up. Birds can fly for so long and they're so strong. And she needed to take a break more often. But she loved the feeling of soaring with the birds. And one day, as the birds and Callie were all perched on a branch, resting, and the birds were preening their wings and their feathers and admiring the beautiful color schemes, and they could have looked at Callie and said, "Oh, Callie, look at your beautiful wings. They're so unique and delicate." But instead, they said, "Oh, Callie, wouldn't it be wonderful if you had feathers like us? Think how strong your wings would be. Perhaps if we pull out your hair, then feathers will grow in and you can be a bird like us." And Callie, wanting to be like the birds and wanting to please her friends, she let the birds pull out a few hairs each time that they met. Pluck, pluck, pluck. And this went on for some time, with Callie flying with her sisters, flying with the birds, enjoying her beautiful forest, until one day Callie was flying just above the tree line, and she felt something that she had never felt before. It was heat on her head. And she flew down and looked in a clear, still pond and realized that over this time of plucking, she had become bald. And she was getting her first sunburn on her scalp. Oh, it was painful, the burn, and she felt ridiculous. No hair, her beautiful hair. She felt a bit ridiculous and ugly, not feeling like herself. And she found a lily pad in that pond, and she curled up in a ball and began to cry. Not too long later, she heard a buzzing sound, and she looked up to see a dragonfly. Dragonfly with wings just like hers. And the dragonfly said, "Oh, my dear, what is the matter?" And, well, Callie wanted to say, "Look, I'm bald." But she looked, and the dragonfly was bald too. Looked good on him. Didn't know anything else. But Callie did explain her dilemma and how she had let her friends and her sisters rid her of her beautiful locks, and how sad she felt now, and not herself. The dragonfly listened, and he showed empathy, even though he'd never had anyone pull out his hair. And after crying with her for a little bit, he said, "But there is a good thing, my dear. Hair grows back. And when your hair grows back, you will be no more beautiful than you are now. For you see, beauty comes from within. And when you get your hair back, and now, you remember, don't you let any greed or envy or judgment or any of those other horrible monsters, don't you let them take any part of you away." Dragonfly was right. Callie's hair did grow back. Slowly but surely. First it was peach fuzz, and then it grew longer and longer, perhaps a little bit curlier than it had been before. But all the while, she remembered what the dragonfly had said, that her beauty came from the inside. And she never let those horrible monsters of envy and judgment and greed take any part of her again. She flew higher, she laughed louder, and she did more good than she'd ever done before in her life. Go do some good. Go remember where your beauty comes from. And I hope you have a fabulous week. Tell me what story that makes you think of. Like, share, subscribe. I'd love to hear a story from you. Till next time.